What's not okay to do with a guy friend when you have a boyfriend?
Anything you wouldn't do or say with them if your boyfriend was standing next to you.
The easiest starting point is to ask yourself, what would I feel if my partner did this with their friend, and rule all of that out immediately. Going to a hookah lounge at 2 AM with the guy friend right after saying you were too tired to go to your boyfriend's house. Make them think you guys would ever date if you eventually break up with your current BF.
Reach your hand across 2 seats to touch your guy friend's crotch while your boyfriend is sitting next to you. Speaking from experience here. Not okay. I didn't tell my friend her boyfriend what happened because he sat next to her and I think he knows and saw what happened.
I feel like there's a couple arguing behind this post, and maybe it should have been a Artemi the asshole post instead.
Anything you would think is not okay for your boyfriend to do with one of his friend.
My rule of thumb for socializing with the opposite sex while in a relationship is that if you're not comfortable telling your partner about what happened, it shouldn't happen.
That thing that some women do when they cling to one of your arms and hold their head against it. Some physical contact is fine, but that feels like a little too much.
1. Anything you wouldn't do with a same-sex friend. 2. Anything you wouldn't want your partner to see.
This is a conversation to have with your boyfriend to know what your boyfriend is comfortable with. Different people consider different things as cheating.
It's not okay to hide things or be secretive about your interactions with a guy friend when you have a boyfriend. Transparency and honesty are key to maintaining trust in your relationship.
Use them as a boyfriend replacement when your boyfriend is not available. I'm not really talking about physical stuff, I mean using another guy to fill in whatever void you would normally do with your boyfriend if he happens to not be available. I get platonic friends and workplace partners are a thing, but trying to fill an emotional void with someone else because your boyfriend isn't available is what sends mixed signals more than anything, even if that's not the conscious intent.
Edit want to emphasize it's okay to do things if your partner isn't available with other people, or even just another person. It's more a self-examination of when you are interacting with another person singularly and why.
A lot of structured answers here, but the real answer is that it depends. You need to have a real conversation with your partner, and be open about your feelings and boundaries. Then you can figure out what's okay to do with friends. I've been married over 25 years, and my wife and I know each other's boundaries. Friends are fine, we do not hide stuff from each other, neither of us is into watching the other person flirt. I'm a bit more possessive than she is, but we've talked about it.
Instead of trying to control her, I try to start with how I feel and what those feelings are rooted in. I wasn't always like this. Younger me was idiotic. One of my best friends is super relaxed with his wife, doesn't care if she flirts or dances with other guys. She's more possessive than he is. But they make it work because they've had honest conversations.
Your boyfriend is at work, during the night shift. Don't write funny things on your male friend's genitalia and post about it in social media.
Sleepovers at his house all the time. That kinda stuff will make your boyfriend jealous. Remember a conversation with my ex. She was quite close with her own ex who she had been friends with for years before they even got together, so I understood her keeping in touch with him, and they shared a friend group etc, so I wouldn't want to get in the way of that. However, after a party she mentioned she had stayed over at, we'll call him Pete's, and that she's done it before, so it's quite handy.
It was a long time ago, so I can't remember the finer details, but I ended up asking where she slept when staying at Pete's, and it turns out she would sleep in his bed with him. That was one of our final. I suppose sharing the bed with a guy friend qualifies for the list, especially if it's your ex.
Flirt with them, prioritize them over your BF. Spend time with them more often.
Anything you wouldn't be comfortable with your boyfriend doing with his female friends.
Putting them above the boyfriend by using the "I know him for longer than I know you." Same thing if we reverse genders.
So boundaries you have to set with your partner. We all have different rights and wrongs.
Arm in arm with them. Lie in bed fully clothed, obviously watching Netflix. You can keep doing all this with your girlfriends if you're straight, but with your guy friends, if either of you are in a relationship, you need to respect your partner and be less affectionate, even if you both know nothing would ever happen.
You're not on the same page as him about this kind of stuff. It will always cause problems, unfortunately.
Think you want to know about a specific thing, but unless you tell us what specific thing you want to do, we can only give you general answers. I think there are 2 ways to approach this issue. 1. Imagine your BF was doing this thing with a different girl that you don't like it, then don't do it. And if you like it, but it turns you still don't do it. 2.
Imagine your BF is in the room somewhere and you're talking with a guy that he doesn't. You look around to see if your BF is watching before you do this thing? If so, then don't do it. If you think you might have to explain to your BF why you're doing, don't do it.
Once someone told me this. Everything that you can't do with a sibling is considered cheating. So the same applies here. If you told your guy friend that he's sexy, could you tell that to a sibling as well?
Your boyfriend. It's best to sit down and discuss boundaries anyway.
Reverse the roles. Would you mind if they did the same but with the opposite gender? There's still a chance they'll mind even when applying that logic. But it's a good starter.
Anything you wouldn't do or say in their presence if your boyfriend was right beside you. It's that simple, really.
Anything you wouldn't be okay with your boyfriend doing with women he's friends with. Same things that you wouldn't want your BF doing with his female friends. Both women and men don't want their significant other hanging around people who want to bang them.
Fighting in them about problems in your relationship with current BF. When you do this, the male friend is basically your emotional support boyfriend. Also, the male friend, if they're morally corrupt, may see this as an opportunity to slide in between you and so to get his pound of flesh at the cost of your relationship. TBH, I'm always sketched out about opposite sex friendships where one is in a relationship and the other is straight and very single.
People act like it's completely normal and fine, and sometimes it is, but anecdotally I've seen enough so's get outplayed by the conveniently single and emotionally supportive friend.
Long hugs, and obviously sex. Don't talk to them about your sex life or go crying to them for comfort if you get into a conflict with your significant other. If your partner needs you, like if their car breaks down or they get mugged, don't use this person as an excuse for why you can't be there for them. A lot of people wouldn't want their significant other to be alone with an opposite sex friend in a private space either.
It's up to you whether this is a deal breaker for you, and it's totally okay if it is, but most people I know in relationships generally hang out with their opposite sex friends in a group of 3 or more.
Aren't hard and fast rules. People are suggesting golden rule variants. What would you be comfortable with him doing with a woman friend? But the real questions are, what is he comfortable with? And, are you comfortable with that? If your boyfriend were a pretty open poly dude and relationship anarchist, he'd likely have different views than a more conservative person. I'd just take out the guesswork and have a conversation with him about what he's comfortable with and see if you find that to be reasonable and compatible with your views.
I'm generally loath to get into psych speech, but for lack of a better term, it could be good to have clear boundaries regarding this in your relationship.
Someone needs you to get rid of all other social connections for a single connection they provide. It's better to just get rid of that one insecure connection than burning and destroying humanity to limit kindness and general morality to everyone else.
Okay, picture your boyfriend with his female friends. Anything that would upset you plus 10 more to be safe, and that's that you don't do with your male friends.
Each friendship between men and women is hard because very often the guy secretly or not so secretly wants to fuck his girl, know their own kind, and that's why they have trouble with their GFS having best friends.